This podcast of the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs, is sponsored by AAA Heating and Air.
The premier HVAC company in the Midlands is growing. Are you a top HVAC technician?
AAA Heating and Air is looking for dedicated applicants to fill their fast-growing service department with top-notch HVAC technicians.
If you're the best, then they want you. If you're ready to stop working and start a career, you can earn up to $100,000 plus a year at AAA Heating and Air.
Quality candidates will have at least 2 years experience and a good driving record. Benefits include top industry salaries, commission on service and unit sales, set call limits, company-provided take-home vehicle and gas card, company-provided cell phone and tablet, health, dental, and vision benefits, 401k retirement plan with company match, and scaled PTO based on length of service.
Contact Roy and Dana Finley at 803-677-1500 or check out their job postings on Facebook or ZipRecruiter.
AAA Air when you need us. AAA Heating and Air.
It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs, founded by firemen with Chris Clark.
The 2007 South Carolina class was, at that time, 6th in the country and 4th in the SEC, which is amazing.
Wes Mitchell.
You know, I think if you're South Carolina, you're aiming to at least be at 50%. Then in theory, you're adding talent, you're getting better, you're putting yourself in a position to compete.
And Tyler Head.
It's been a great week for South Carolina. On the recruiting front, still certainly plenty to talk about.
On the home of the Gamecocks, 107.5 The Game.
Hour number 3. It's now officially the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs here at 107.5 The Game. But we've been taking over for the full 3 hours. One more hour to go. Myself, Wes, Chris, and Colin out at Steel Hands Brewing in Casey. Got a little bit of a crowd showing up here as they're hosting a private event, and obviously we're getting you all set for next weekend's Gamecock Central kickoff party next Saturday, and you can go online to GamecockCentral.com and find all the details for that. Certainly want to see as many of y'all out there as we can. But as we jump into this hour, you know, we obviously heard from a lot of different players yesterday, and Colin, I think everybody that you requested ended up being seen. Was that correct?
I did not see JT Gear.
Okay, that may be
everyone
the one.
else, yes, I believe. The comment was made that I had a really good hit rate on my request.
Real quick on that, one of the people that spoke yesterday was Katie Ford, and a name that I think might surprise a lot of South Carolina fans. Anything significant we should know about him as we're going through camp and into the season?
Christopher?
Yes, I think so. Special teams,
okay,
I think is something you can watch. We were talking, was it last hour, was it the 9? I can't even remember, guys. It's flying by out here at Steel Hands Brewing. But we were talking about some kind of underrated storylines about this team. I think people are assuming that USC can just coast on special teams. And look, they'll still be very good. Got their entire battery back of Hunter Rogers, Kai Kroger, Mitch Jeter. They still have Pete Limbo. They have Shane Beamer. We know the emphasis that they're going to put on that phase of the game where it's truly a third of the game. For South Carolina, it might even be more than a third of the game. It is so important to them. They'll be fine there. They'll be quite good there. But they did lose some key contributors. Shane Beamer talked about this recently. Darius Rush, who was not only an NFL-level starting cornerback for you, but he was one of your punt gunners. He was fantastic in punt coverage. Trey Kenyon played a lot as a tight end. Nate Adkins, we all saw what he did last season, not only at the tight end position, particularly in the second half of the season, but what he did in coverage. So this team has lost some guys that had a lot of experience that really factored into special teams. So KD Ford, walk-on, local guy, I think he's going to be someone that when you look out on the kickoff team, on the punt coverage team, would not be a surprise to see him out there. Don't know for sure. But I think there's probably a reason that they had him come and talk. He factored in some last year. I remember him drawing some praise, even publicly, from the staff. So I think we'll see him out there.
And he's an interesting story. You talked about it yesterday. He's got a unique story where he was on campus for a while, not even playing, and just ended up going to walk-on tryouts. I think he said one of his friends or something like that told him about it, and has since obviously gone on to be on the team for a couple years. But definitely one of those guys that's got a cool story that fans definitely love to get behind.
I remember going out to his high school and interviewing him at Blythewood, and it was kind of a lower-level prospect at that time. Probably, wasn't going to get a scholarship at South Carolina or ACC, SEC school, high school quarterback. So, it seems like he's really just a sharp football player. if you look, guys, at his Gamecocks online bio, this is interesting. Wes and I sometimes like to do a little bio science.
Okay.
Because every now and then you will glean a little something where you go, oh, okay. Here's what it says. Walk-on, who's in his third year in the program, okay, general, has been a force on special teams and provides quality depth at safety. And he has here's something I kind of forgot. He has 2 block punts in his career.
Ooh.
2 block punts in his career. One, I can't remember which game. I only remembered one, and I can't even pick out the game. Did they have one against SC State?
That seems right.
That seems right. I'm not sure. But anyway, 2 block punts for King Ford. Bio says he's been a force. And, generally when you're getting that bio information, there's a little bit of kind of leaning on the coaching staff and asking them. So,
sure.
Clearly, Pete Limbo, Shane Beamer think highly of this guy, so King Ford's probably going to be a guy that you're going to see a good bit of on special teams. Maybe similar to kind of a Peyton Mangrum, who will be, again, former walk-on who's now on scholarship. He's going to provide key depth at wide receiver. King Ford, he'll be more of a depth guy at safety. You're probably not going to see him play a whole lot,
right?
But you probably will see him a good bit on special teams.
One name that we are super familiar with is Tyrique Johnson, somebody that is, from everything y'all have written and seen so far, had a really, really good offseason. I got Ed to play cut 17 here. Here is Tyrique talking about the offseason he's had so far.
He's someone that
I said the main biggest thing is getting in better shape and stuff, and pretty much getting stronger, improving my whole body any way I can. But pretty much, I think I had like one of the highest bench presses and like that one of the highest squats on the team right now. So, yeah.
Again, that was Tyrique Johnson. Certainly appreciate it, man. Ed Bird back in the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. Help us out with those technical problems. But as you were just saying, Colin, this is a guy that has done a lot this offseason. You just mentioned they're getting very, very strong, and that's going to be key for his playing at that edge spot.
And another thing, maybe everyone's not talking about the offensive line, but one thing that really has kind of flown under the radar to a degree because of everything else that's happened this offseason, they brought in a new nutritionist from the Chicago Cubs organization. And Tyrique Johnson, Shane Beamer said a lot of really good things about him, kind of unprompted during his pre-camp press conference. And when Tyrique Johnson was talking about him yesterday, he's like, yeah, they're kind of letting us take ownership of it. They're giving us more different supplements to take. They're allowing us to do a couple different things. And he's really credited that nutrition staff, the new nutrition staff, with some of the gains he's able to make. He's squatting 600 pounds. He's bench pressing 400 pounds. Lightweight for me, but like when you're talking about an SEC edge, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, Tyrique, Wes and I had a long conversation yesterday on the podcast about Tyrique, and he's a guy that was an under-the-radar recruit, but when he got to South Carolina as a freshman all the way back in 2018, guys, you could see that technically he was really sound, and that he had some physical traits where he felt like eventually, probably not that year, but eventually could be a good player. But then really what's held him back the most of anything in his career has been the injuries. He had the ACL very early in his career. He had the sublux kneecap, the Ortre Smith, not even injury, but just a condition that you got to get fixed. That's a very difficult situation, very difficult surgery. The recovery can be very tough. And so now going into his 6th year, he's finally been able to stack a couple years where he's been more healthy. Last year he made probably a bigger impact than folks have, know, unless you just kind of go back and dive into the numbers. This year it seems like he's taken that next step. Sterling Lucas said yesterday, this guy has everything that he needs to be a great player. So a lot of the things that you're getting from the coaching staff, you do get some coach speak about players, but this is going a little bit, I think, above and beyond some of that.
I did think Beamer bringing up Tyrique sort of unprompted was
Colin said that many times.
Yeah, was important, and he brought up the strength or the nutrition staff as well. That's maybe not been talked about enough. Yemi Cuepo Rodriguez and then Jennifer Goldstein. I think we kind of knew, like the fan base knew who Kristen Coggan was. And she had been here a while, and, she was heavily featured in the Gamecock, that ESPN sort of live preseason documentary thing they did. She was heavily featured on there. I don't know if the new nutrition staff has gotten as much time yet in kind of the fan limelight. So, I do think that was interesting with everything else going on, with everything else to talk about. That quote from Beamer about the nutrition staff was probably a little bit glossed over, but the guys have certainly spoken highly of this group, and it is so important, man. I mean, you look back at 10, 15, 20 years ago when this just was not something that was heavily focused on. I mean, I'll go back, South Carolina hiring, Joey Blake in a full-time role as nutritionist for football. I believe at the time they were actually one of the first to make that move, which now just seems insane that that wasn't something that was already a part of what you do as an organization.
Absolutely. One more quick cut here before we have to jump into the break. This will be cut number 16. Tyrique talking about some of the lessons that he did learn last season.
Main thing is the speed of the game. Everything's more fast and physical, and just understanding how it's important to basically just know what to do and stuff like that, and how knowing what to do can help, pretty much allow you to make better plays and be better on the field and stuff like that.
And Chris mentioned this a moment ago, getting on the field a little bit more than maybe people realize, but he's obviously going to be expected to step into an even bigger role this upcoming season.
Yeah, and I think, like we said earlier, fighting it out with JT Gear is kind of my expectation. I think Jordan Strong, who is not the oldest person on the team,
is not.
He was very adamant about that.
Gibbs.
Yeah, he wanted to make sure we all knew that.
Yeah, I'm not the oldest.
I believe Gibbs is the second oldest non-kicker in college football.
So
right
Gibbs
now
came into Georgia the same year Stetson,
2017.
Yeah, that gives you perspective.
Stetson Bennett still has not graduated.
He still is not, but I think he's doing okay out in L.A.
Yes, he's doing all right. Probably did pretty well in the NIL world, too. But, yeah, I mean, Tyrique holding down that number one spot. We'll see if Gear can pass him. But would be a welcome happening for South Carolina if we're able to see Tyrique truly kind of take another step. If there's another gear there, if there's another step, and that's what we're seeing right now, that would be a huge development for Carolina.
I think the two things that you were really, really counting on, there are probably three things if you're South Carolina, were, okay, got to get Jordan Strong back healthy, and then you were hoping that Desmond Umeozulu was what you thought he was in recruiting, and that he, continued on his trajectory that you saw in the spring, and then also getting in JT Gear and counting on him to come in and be a guy for you. It looks like those three things have happened and are continuing to track in the right direction. The thing that you probably were not banking on was Tyrique Johnson doing this. You're probably thinking, hey, if he can be what he was last season, or a depth guy, good. And that's probably what you were counting on. As it turns out, it looks like they're probably going to get more than that. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean he's going to be a superstar, a guy that's on an all-SEC list after the season. But if he's good enough to where he's pushing for a starting role, not just because it's throwing a guy out there, or you've got to have a starter. There's a difference in just starting a guy because you kind of need a starter, and a guy who's kind of earning that spot. Right now, it seems like he's earning that spot.
Yeah, he's on the list of all time dudes who have had a good offseason for 3 straight years. You know how every offseason it's he's had a really good offseason. Yeah. He's had a really good offseason. It's like him, Xavier Leggette's always had a really good offseason. But they just haven't had the chance to showcase it because they've been buried behind other guys.
Sure.
Now it's we got snaps to go around. It's your time, and you hope those two guys especially can tick up a little bit.
We'll continue to talk about the defense coming up next. Hear from a couple of the defensive backs as the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs, live out at Steel Hands Brewing in Casey, rolls on here on.
You loved Lala Kent on Vanderpump Rules. Now get to know her on Give Them Lala.
Is it weird having a million things to talk about and the only thing he wanted to talk about is Bravo?
Yes, and it's always weird. It's like when I went to the White House Correspondents' Dinner and thought that this was my chance to make a change, and they were like, well, enough about change. Stand up. And then I have so many questions for Howie that had nothing to do, and he was like, so scandalous.
Give Them Lala, wherever you listen.
107.5 The Game.
It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, Presented by Firehouse Subs. Founded by firemen with Chris Clark, Wes Mitchell, and Tyler Head on your home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game.
Yeah, I think Tonka, man, Tonka's very versatile. I think a lot of people are just starting to, he's kind of under the radar, starting to realize that. I know he got the Senior Bowl, acknowledgement not too long ago and things of that nature that I saw on Twitter. But Tonka, man, he's very versatile. He's an athletic guy. I mean, he plays a lot of different special teams. He plays D-tackle. He plays edge. I mean, Tonka's, and he's not an ego guy at all. I mean, he'll do whatever it takes to win the game. No job is too small for him. No job too big for him. So love what Tonka is, man.
Welcome back into the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Broadcasting live out at Steel Hands Brewing. And Casey going to be out here until noon. It's turning into a nice cloudy day so far, so things have cooled off a little bit. Called a bit of an audible there as far as the sound we're listening to. That was Coach Sterling Lucas talking about Tonka Hemingway and his ability to play a lot of different places, but specifically play at that edge position, which, again, there's a lot of questions about what that's exactly going to look like this season, and Tonka could certainly factor himself in to get some snaps there.
I think it's been very interesting how, for most of the offseason, they have said that they won't Tonka inside. They see him as an inside player, on the interior of the defensive line is what I mean by inside. But then you look back, the amount of snaps he ended up playing outside at edge last year, he sort of made an all-out almost move to that position for the bowl game, but he really played outside a lot here and there throughout last season. And I just keep looking. They obviously want Boogie Huntley on the field. They obviously have a guy in T.J. Sanders who was the defensive player of the spring for a reason. And then you have Tonka who, arguably, is he their best defender this year? Like, I think
I'd go there.
Yep.
Yeah, like that. I think that is the expectation. And so, it's going to be a matter of getting all those guys on the field at once. Ultimately, I tend to think you're looking to find ways to do that. I love the idea of having depth inside, of being able to rotate guys in and keep them fresh. I think that's part of it. But when you're rolling into Athens, Georgia, and facing offensive tackles that are 5 stars and 330 pounds and just mammoth human beings, I like the idea of having somebody like Tonka out there on the edge for you to set that edge, to bring some additional size, strength, grown man at this point in his career. And I think that's a really nice option for this staff.
Are you president of the Tonka Hemingway fan club?
That's actually Chris.
Yes,
but
Chris is
all right, so
nobody can dethrone me.
Right, because I'm president of the Case and Henry fan club. I am, championing, Case
That's
and
a
Henry.
random one.
Yeah, I was one of those guys that watched him move around in, a practice when he was here,
His
during
high school
camp,
tape.
and I was like, ooh, this guy can move, and he's big.
Those are true things.
I am on the Case and Henry bandwagon for a very, very long time now.
One guy you might get on the bandwagon for before too long is Desmond Umeozulu.
Heyo.
Here is Sterling Lucas talking about him yesterday, cut number 4, if you will, Ed.
I think he's just continuing to get better. Obviously a year, he got here in the spring. So to me, that's equivalent of, he already had a redshirt year. He's good on all the calls and everything, and just continue to progress and continue to get, bigger, stronger, faster like he did in the weight room. And now it's just time to just go out there and make plays.
And as Coach Lucas mentioned there, he's been here for the entirety of this calendar year, so there's a lot of value that goes into that, and certainly somebody that we're expecting to get some looks on the field this year.
Yeah, Sterling Lucas accelerating the time frame for our guy Desmond Umeozulu there. I know what he means certainly by that, and Wes, I think you made this point recently on the show. You can go back and look historically. Not every player that enrolls early makes an impact. There are some that do not make an impact either in year one. Some don't even make an impact for most of their career. So it still matters. You still have to be a really good player. To enroll early and to make an impact, you still have to be a good player. But for those really good players, it does kind of shorten that runway. It does help you to make an earlier impact than maybe you otherwise would, because now you have that time, those few weeks to integrate yourself with the team. Number one, get used to college, go through workouts, go through a session of spring practice to where preseason camp is not your first introduction to college football. That would be incredibly difficult. We're seeing more and more guys, over time in the past several years, enroll early. It can be very, very helpful to do that. You still have to be, obviously, a great prospect. And I think that's what Desmond Umeozulu is. When you look at him, he kind of checks all the boxes. I mean, he kind of looks like you want him to look coming out of high school. Yes, he's got to get bigger, stronger. He'll still have things to learn. But obviously, Sterling Lucas is counting on him to step in and make some type of contribution this year. And, how he progresses throughout the rest of preseason practice is going to help tell that story as to what type of impact he makes.
He seems like, to me, and I'm not trying to put either unwarranted or whatever expectations on him, he kind of reminds me in a way of Tonka Hemingway, where year one, he plays, 10 to 15 snaps a game, flashes, and then year two, it's like, okay, well, he gets like 4 or 5 starts under his belt and plays well doing that. And then the year after that, as you reshape your body, Tonka obviously added weight to that. You reshape your body, then it's like, whoa, this dude's the real deal. And then by this senior season, obviously if he gets that far, now if that's accelerated, different story. But if he gets to his senior year and it's like, well, he's added 30 pounds since the time he got here. He's long, athletic, can do all the things we're asking him to do. And now he's on the verge of all SEC territory. Like, he reminds me of that guy where there's so much to work with. It's just about fine-tuning and getting his body in a spot. And when that happens, watch out.
I think it is ideal that you brought in JT Gear. It's ideal that Tyrique Johnson appears to be taking another step. Because you look out there, Dez is going to get his opportunity, but it's not one of these things. We've seen this in the past where you have a true freshman and you're like, dude, sorry, but I know you want to play, but you're probably not ready to play, but we're going to have to play you. And so you go out there, we would go out there and practice. Oh, that guy's with the ones. And it's just, hey, we're throwing you in. Let's see what happens. For him, you go out there, he hasn't been, with the ones or twos at edge. So that tends to lead me to believe he's going to play. But it may be one of those things where, like, game one, after it all plays out, fans will be like, hey, where's Umeozulu? How come he wasn't on the field? It's going to be a process as a position that you can play early, but it's really hard to start as a true freshman and hold up the physicality of that position at that age.
Up next, I want to take a look at another list that ESPN has recently put out, ranking the top 50 college football newcomers both as freshmen and transfer players for this upcoming 2023 season. Let's see if any Gamecocks landed on that list. You're listening to the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs, broadcasting live from Steel Hands Brewing in Casey on 107.5 The Game.
It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour. 107.5 The Game.
Guys, we are in Casey, South Carolina, and we are right next door to West Columbia, South Carolina. Are they considered sister towns, sister cities? Like, I feel like
the sisters, brothers, at least cousins.
I feel like they're kind of the same.
Yeah.
Maybe West Columbia people don't like that, or Casey people don't like that. I matched them up together. If you're coming out to Steel Hands, head on over to West Columbia as well. See our friends at Gold Line Framing, from diplomas to original artwork, canvases, jerseys, and flags. I've been telling everybody, if you want something new for the man cave, maybe you want to hang up a jersey, hang up a signed print, whatever that memorabilia you have that maybe you want to take to another level, let them do a custom framing job for you at Gold Line Framing. In store, they've also got galleries and gifts. They're at 511 12th Street. That's, again, West Columbia, 29169. Phone number is 803-739-1337. At Gold Line Framing SC on Instagram. They've been in business for over 20 years. They're open Tuesday to Friday, 10 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. And on Saturday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. They've got a great art gallery, home decor, even furniture and gift items in store. Check them out. Again, Gold Line Framing, 511 12th Street. They even have an email address, guys, if you got another question, you don't like to talk on the phone. GoldLineFramingSC@gmail.com. Check them out.
What newcomer to the South Carolina football team does ESPN think is going to make a big impact this season? Talk about that next. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs, live at Steel Hands Brewing in Casey on 107.5 The Game.
It's the Gamecock Gamecock Central Takeover Hour. Presented by Firehouse Subs. Founded by firemen with Chris Clark, Wes Mitchell, and Tyler Head on your home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game.
And welcome back into the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs, broadcasting live at Steel Hands Brewing in Casey for about 20 more minutes. Myself, Wes, Chris, and Colin. Real quick, want to remind y'all about the 107.5 The Game Ultimate Season Ticket Giveaway live right now at 1075thegame.com. Just go to our website, look for the Ultimate Game Ticket Giveaway emblem on the front page. Give it a click, fill out that form for your chance to win tickets to every home football game, every home men and women's basketball game, and every home baseball game when the springtime rolls around. Winners will be announced on August 25th out at our golf event in Charwood in West Columbia at the Charwood Golf Club. So don't miss your chance to win a bunch of season tickets to see a multitude of Gamecock sports. Chris brought this up to me a little while ago, and I mentioned it before the break. ESPN has their ranking of 2023 college football newcomers, top 50 transfers, and freshmen, and obviously we're aware of who's on this list. Wes and Colin, you want to take a guess at who it might be?
Top 50 transfers
and
or freshmen.
Yes.
How many from South Carolina?
Just one.
You get one, and you get one South Carolina related also.
That's also true.
Yes.
I don't know what that means. Okay.
I know what that means.
I got it. All right.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
South Carolina related.
Yes. There's a tie-in.
Yeah. Did they go Marshawn or Jaheim?
Or Birch?
That would be Birch.
Birch is the answer.
Colin got it.
Answer. Number 20.
Jordan Birch checks in at number 20.
No Marshawn.
Not what we see.
Marshawn Lloyd is not on the list.
Where did Peyton Argent fall? Is he the answer?
Clearly number 1.
He's not.
They probably went Nicholas Harbor.
Yeah.
That is correct at number 30.
Yeah. I don't. The narrative around Nick Harbor locally versus nationally is so interesting to me.
And different.
Because the national media, they get a little star happy and they're like, oh, like he's a 5-star, he's literally faster than most human beings alive right now. This is amazing. And then all of the South Carolina staff's like, let's temper expectations. He's going to have a role, but he's still a freshman. He's still getting used to it. And I just find that dichotomy so interesting.
The national writers in the first 3 weeks of the season, if he's not pulling down 8 catches a game with a touchdown, what's wrong with Nicholas Harbor? Is this guy a bust? What's going on?
Yep.
Well, I think, he's going to be on, what is it called, the Freaks list, the Feldmans?
Yes.
That's fair. He'll be on there next offseason.
Yes.
And he belongs on there. I mean, and the guy's done everything right. Here's the problem with sports media today. If you say what we're saying right now, somebody inevitably will say that you're being negative about it, which that's not the case. I look at it as you're being fair. It is not fair to Nicholas Harbor. And here, we talked about that divide, too, between the people who are following every waking second of South Carolina football versus a more casual fan who's just going to kind of wake up and watch it on Saturday and, maybe catch a headline here or there, and there's everybody in between. Well, they're also going to be in that national media sort of side where they're like, hey, what number is this Harbor? Oh, 8. Shouldn't he be starting? And to me, again, that's not really fair to him because I did think as much as Beamer has talked about Harbor, he gave one of his most thorough answers about how this all came about to Andy Staples on that podcast, and that was when he's talking about, hey, we offered him first, and it's, hey, this guy's a pass rusher, he's a defensive end. Then it's, well, actually, he wants to play offense, he's a tight end. Then it was, well, why? And I had the same thought. You and I talked about this on GC Live. Why have this special athlete blocking SEC linebackers and defensive ends for half of a game? Let's put him at receiver. We said that before that even ended up being the case. But what does that mean? You're truly learning a new position. When he played offense in high school, a lot of it was at tight end. So he can play a role on this team, but it's really not fair at all to Nicholas Harbor to be like, go be Alshon Jeffrey, go have his freshman year.
Yeah, go be an All-American. That's just not what his role is, or frankly probably should be, at least early. Now that obviously could change as he gets in there, and who knows, maybe a light clicks on for him against North Carolina and all of a sudden you take off from there. But at the end of the day, you need to temper expectations with every freshman, because they are, remember what you were at 18, 19 years old, and now you're playing in front of 80,000 fans with so much going on. Temper expectations.
Is Harbor in the top, to open the season, is he in the top 3 or 5 freshmen, like immediate impact guys at the beginning of the year?
Ooh. I mean, could he be? Yes. Right now, as we sit,
they have a game tomorrow.
Define immediate impact. Well, what kind of numbers are we talking?
Well, I mean, that does get a little subjective.
20 snaps, and 3 or 5.
Right,
you said 3 or 5. So
let's say top 5. Let's say top 5, and then when I say like impact, I think you kind of know it when you see it. That doesn't mean he's going to start. It means you're going to play some and you're going to make some plays that impact the game. You know, that doesn't all five catches a game or what. You know, that's kind of silly, right? But in that top 5, I mean, Shane Beamer said, we're going to play a freshman at just about every position.
Yeah.
You know, and there are going to be levels to that. So is Nicholas Harbor to open the season, is he actually there now?
I think for freshmen, I also judge it. I judge it on snap count.
Yeah.
Because
it's a good way.
Early in the season especially. Like as the season goes on, you're going to be like, well, this guy's making an impact. This guy, A is making an impact, B is not. But early on, how much you impact a game, there's 100 things that could affect that don't have anything to do with you. Maybe you don't get thrown the ball. Maybe the O-line doesn't protect, et cetera, et cetera. I look at it early on, the guys who performed in practice, the guys they expect to be the best players.
Are you playing?
You're playing or you're not.
Right.
So who are the top 5 snap takers week 1, or week 1, 2, and 3? Is he in that top 5? I tend to think there are a lot of So Yuva asked on Twitter, and it was interesting to hear fan thoughts.
Right.
Which freshman is going to make the biggest impact on this team? I tend to think right now, as we look at it, I don't think there's one just what I would call Nick Imamori impact, but I actually think there will be more freshmen that do make a sizable impact on this year's team. Can anybody rise to the Imamori level, which I think is pretty easy to say he was your most impactful true freshman last year.
So more true freshmen making an impact, but not
the high end level.
I mean, it's hard to make that big of an impact.
Right. But
you come in that early in the season and you're the starter and you just don't relinquish it. And even that had something happen to precipitate that. Like R.J. Roderick got hurt, then he came in and then, boom, he just takes off with it.
Yeah. I think last year's class was so top heavy is probably not the right word, but the impact was top heavy. You had Nick Imamori, DQ Smith, and not a ton of impact outside of that early in the season from that freshman class. I think the exact opposite, where maybe you're not having a freshman go on the road to Georgia and play 80 snaps like Imamori would have done, but you have, does Jelon Kilgore get 20 snaps? Does Marquis Anderson play 15 snaps? Does DJ Braswell play 10 snaps? You're going to have a lot of guys like that.
Bakari Swain,
Harbor,
Elijah Caldwell.
Yeah.
Pup, depending on injury situation.
Yeah.
Pup is the guy, actually, if you're looking at game 1, depending on injury situation around him, he's the guy you could look at and be like, wow.
He could start.
Pup started and played 60 snaps that game.
Right.
So he's in the rotation. I tell y'all, the guy nobody's mentioned yet.
Ooh, under the radar.
Today, Judge Collier.
No, Judge.
But Judge is out there with the 2s right now. We leave him out when we talk about who's in the running for that second team line at corner. Emory Floyd's out there, obviously. Isaiah Norris, is the older guy. We always bring up Bakari Swain with good reason. But Judge, with the spring under his belt, has been the guy that's been out there with the 2s when we've been out there.
And we'll certainly have plenty more time to talk guys that are going to make an impact over these next 3 weeks as we lead up to kicking things off against North Carolina on September the 2nd. Come back and wrap up today's edition of the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs, broadcasting live from Steel Hands Brewing. We'll tell you about some cool things coming up at Steel Hands over these next couple weeks, right here on 107.5 The Game.
It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour. 107.5 The Game.
Chris, very soon we're going to bring back Buy or Sell for this
cannot wait.
college football season. And once again, Buy or Sell is going to be brought to you by my good friend Kendall Walsh. You may remember her, if you're listening, as Kendall Belk when she was with the Gamecock Club. She is now Kendall Walsh, and she is with Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate Medley. Give her a call, 803-414-3590, or you can just shoot her a text. The real estate market, the housing market, it can be a bear to try to figure out. So you're going to want someone by your side to help you through it, whether that's buying, whether that's selling, whether that is selling and then buying, as a lot of people have to do. Kendall helped me and my wife with this process. She helped my wife's mom sell her house. She helped us buy a house. She was right there every single step of the way, and she can do the exact same for you. Give Kendall a call again. Like I said, shoot her a text, 803-414-3590. Again, that's Kendall Walsh with Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate Medley.
Tell you about some cool stuff at Steel Hands coming up next. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs on 107.5 The Game.
It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour. Presented by Firehouse Subs. Founded by firemen with Chris Clark, Wes Mitchell, and Tyler Head on your home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game.
And welcome back in. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs on 107.5 The Game and broadcasting live out at Steel Hands Brewing all morning long. They'll be back out here next week, actually doing another show in the lead up to the Gamecock Central kickoff party that's taking place next Saturday. It is open to attend, but there's also some opportunities to get some VIP access as well.
Yeah, the VIP ticket, the whole day is going to be awesome. But the VIP ticket, Wes, gets you some really cool perks. And one of them is we're going to have some athletes out here milling around. Gamecocks have a scrimmage actually that night, not open to the media, not open to the public, but we've already got a few players confirmed to come in, do a little meet and greet earlier in the afternoon before the scrimmage. Juice Wells will be on hand. Freshman Lenora Sellers will be on hand. Nick Harbour, who we just spent an entire segment basically talking about, will also be on hand. Who else we got, Wes?
I didn't hear all you said, to be honest with you. I thought you had this one.
Yeah, Juice Wells, Lenore Sellers, Nick Harbour. Those guys will definitely be out here. DeCarrion Joyner will also be out here.
I haven't announced the other ones yet.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I was trying to be like, all right, who can I announce, who can I not? Those four have been announced. Those are confirmed, and others on the way.
If you do like other sports, though, we'll have
working on those.
Yeah, we'll have that as well. VIP section. Actually, it's going to be a little different this year. You can go into the back still shed as well, so catch some AC.
Yep.
Tented area, as always. You get free food with your free food in the VIP section. Certain number of drinks. We'll have a certain number of other types of drinks as well. So some beer, some cocktails, if you will. Free Gamecock Central hat. Working on making this happen where they might get some Fireflies tickets as well.
Oh,
so we're trying to add value every year to the VIP ticket, and they're going fast.
3, correct?
Yes,
and of course Patrick Davis and his Midnight Choir will be playing later.
You do not have to buy a ticket.
Do not have to buy a ticket for that part. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And of course, we were talking to Ashley Lambert, the director of marketing here at Steel Hands, in hour number 1 of this 3-hour program we got going on, and Sandstorm Lager, Game Day Lager, official release is on August 19th.
It's going to be on cans and draft as well, so however way you like it.
We also, we've not announced this, but our MC, we'll announce that soon. Let's just say y'all will recognize her. She's very short. She she's very short. She has strong opinions, and she spends a lot of time in Charlotte.
Oh.
So y'all can
wonder who that is.
No.
Now, does she have a regular voice and a reporter voice that flips on?
God.
Yes.
Is she known to hang around minor league baseball parks?
That might be giving too much away, Tyler.
But I'm not even going to say anything negative because I don't want any old jokes to be dispensed my way.
Oh, dude, she burned you.
It is not Hayden Panettiere, Tyler,
Okay,
who I have met, by the way.
Really?
I have a
That
picture.
is such a wild,
I'll show you all the picture. Yeah, I met her in Nashville.
Wow,
Very
that's a story to tell for sure. But yeah, certainly check out GamecockCentral.com for all the details of that. And then coming up next Saturday. Thank you so much to Ashley Lambert and everybody here out at Steel Hands Brewing for allowing us to hang out for a couple hours today. Thank you to Kendra, who's gotten us set up out here. Thank you to Ed Bird back in the Herndon Chevrolet Studios for keeping us on the air. The halftime show with just Terry today coming up next right here on 107.5 The Game.